Okay, Chok Tessim Beis, Ashkar Pinchas yesterday's share, and the three subjects that were mentioned yesterday were one, a bor is a chayiv for the chavata for the bang, which would be that would be the shot that when you dig a bore and someone falls in and he gets a bang, so you chayiv for that. But Jibran falls now. It's the only chayiv for the hevel, which we'll see a second later on. That was one machlokus. Another machlokus was about bore the low after that if you have a regular board that you dig, so it doesn't belong to you. But if you have a board that belongs to you, is that also maybe a shore? Maybe a high for that also, and a shore bore, and the nafmina would be if it's a chayiv on kalim. If it's a bore, so then you put it on kalim. If it's also a shore, you do chayiv on kalim. Also machlokus, and the third machlokus was Rav Nosson and Rabbanan about those two machlokus were Rav and Shmuel, and the third machlokus is Rav Nosson and Rabbanan. If a bore that someone didn't, that some things, an animal didn't fall into, but rather was pushed into, is the balabor chai for that? Maybe only the nafal shamas, that some shore chamor, that a shore fell, but if it was pushed by another shore, or here a case where somebody tripped on something and fell into the bore, or got hit on the stone, maybe not chai for that. So three machlokas yesterday. And now the Gemara continues with the Mishnah view the Omer ben Miskavan Chayiv Shalom ben Miskavan Shein Miskavan Pater. So the case in the Mishnah again, yesterday's Mishnah was that the jug fell in Rishus Harabah, broke in Rishus Harabah, and somebody got hurt from the water or from the shards, and Huchlak Echad b'mayim. Somebody. So the words are that somebody tripped. Yesterday's Gemara was concerned that if you hold that you're not chayiv for the bank, so when you slip on the water, so you don't get hurt from the water, you get hurt from the ground. Not to know like that. So you have to say it's talking about that the clothing got dirty. Clothing got dirty. He has to hold that you're chayiv. That's not. You don't say well, he holds that it's considered a shore. And Shmuel doesn't have all these problems. He says that you're chayiv for the chavata also, even though it's karka olam, and therefore he slipped on the water and he fell onto the ground. And Kalim is plata, even if it would be low afkari. Even if he was not afkari. The Gemara says in the Mishnah that said that he argued on Tana Kamma. Tana Kamma said this case about the jug breaking. There are a lot of unknowns. In the Mishnah it says a case, which is a nice, simple case, but a lot of unknowns. It says that the cod broke. It doesn't say how it broke. How did it break? It doesn't say. And it doesn't say if he was mafka the pieces. And it doesn't say if he had time to pick it up. It doesn't say a lot of unknowns. So Tana Kamma says, Chai, Rabbi says only if he was miskabin, only if he intended. But that also doesn't say what did he intend. Very vague Mishnah. This part of the Mishnah, Yehuda says it's only chayiv if he's miskaven. We might have an opinion out of learned the Mishnah Pashup Shat, but we'll see the Gemara and see what the issues are. Yehuda be miskaven chayiv and ve'eino miskaven poter. The case about the cut breaking and someone got damaged with the water or the shards is only if he was miskaven. What do you think miskaven means? Only if he intended. Intended what? Doesn't say that. So let's see. We could jump. I think that the pashto on the Mishnah's class would be that he intended to break it. If he intended to break it, so then he made a bore. But if it didn't intend, so then he's not chayiv. So we'll see that as we go along, if that's true or not. Hey, chidami miskaven. What does Rabbi Yehuda mean to say that I'm if it was miskaven? If it was miskaven, I only agree if he was miskaven something, then it's going to be chayiv. He was intending to take down the jug from his shoulder. That means that of course, it dropped. He tried to take it down, but he, by mistake, he let go. You could also say, I think
that's not really miskaven.
So right. So what? Right. So difficult. He's saying a little docha. So what does miskaven mean? That he's intended to do. What would be the opposite? What would be the case of a low miskaven? What's the case of a low miskaven? That he just was.
No, that would be low miskaven. That he intended to take it down, and then on the way down, it just fell out of his hands.
But the Gemara saying, but the Gemara's not saying that. Right. The
That's really that would really be no because he
low miskaven. What was miskaven?
Miskaven he took
it. He drove it. So the Gemara later on is going to have such a shot, and this here the Gemara for some reason, Rabbah doesn't want to say that. This first one is Rabbah. Let's just highlight. Later on, we're going to have a bias shot. So this is Rabbah talking. So he says, miskaven. The case that Rabbi says is chayiv is that he intended to take it off his shoulder and break it. Right. He didn't want to take it down and put it down, but he dropped it. I think he also could have said, also could have meant if it's listen to the word. But if he would just wasn't careful, he was careful about carrying it, and it dropped. He was carrying the cow on his shoulder, and he wasn't careful. Like Pinchas said, the kid dropped something. So they say, why did he drop it? So he said, drop, just dropped. So the mother says, nothing just drops. You weren't careful. And that's what he's saying over that you miskaven. Miskaven means miskaven the reading with the miksefo and it dropped. And what's the machlok is going to be? Rabbi says over there, I agree that it's considered negligent. If you were taking it down off your shoulder, or I could add on in parentheses, you were carrying it and you were and it fell off somehow. How did it fall off somehow? Because you let go. You weren't careful. So that's what
Which is miskaven.
Miskaven means that the words are a little difficult, but it means that you intended to,
Not be careful.
you were not careful. Miskaven means you were not careful. So that's fit into the words. Miskaven means you were not careful. But that's l'chora what Rabbi is saying, that Rabbi holds the case that Yechayev is
So
when
then
you
miskaven would only be honest.
right, and that's what the Gemara is going to say. What's the case of Lo Miskaven? Or the Gemara is going to say that the thing fell apart. He's holding onto the handle still, and then it just broke, and he has lost the handle. The Gemara is never yelled. The kid comes home. The mother asks what happened. He said, "I was holding it the whole time and it broke." Okay, then the mother says, "Okay, that's honest."
So like intention to be careful and he wasn't.
So the word is hard. I'm asking that the word is harmless, but and I'm asking adding on also not only while he was intending to lower it down to the ground. If he was holding it also and he was not careful and he let go of it, it's also included that will be called that he was negligent. If you those over there, I agree that it's negligent. The only case that review those also is going to be potter if he didn't do anything. He's innocent. The mom was holding on to it tight, and then he sees the cut on the floor. He looks at where did that come from? Because it broke. And the Gemara calls it that it melted, or whatever the case is, that he has the handle. He didn't do anything wrong, and the cat broke.
Yeah, the screw came out. Yeah,
Okay, that's good. Okay, all kinds of cases they didn't do anything wrong. So why does the machlokas now, according to Rabbah, Tanakama says chayv in all cases. Rabbi said only be miskaven, which we're going to say miskaven means negligence, that he dropped it. If they dropped it, everyone else chayiv. So what is the case of Meir holds that he's chayiv, even in the case of an onus? That's how the Mishnah is going to read. So Tanakama, that's from Meir, that he holds chayiv in the case of a low miskaven. What does that mean? Even if it melted, it means he's holding on to the kli, or the whole kli melted, or it separated from the handle. And that's the case where Meir holds that it's chayiv. That means an onus. But Meir holds that it's chayiv for an onus. He was walking in the street and he's carrying a barrel and carrying a jug, and it fell by onus. Meir holds it's chayiv in that also. I'm like in the chayiv for Meir. If he lost the other. So Rabbi said yes, that Meir holds it as chayiv, even if he said the handle is still the ozen is the handle, like the handle of a cup of a jug looks like an air. So that's called ozno. So even if he has the handle and everything, onus also chayiv. Why should it be? This is what Rabbi is saying. Pshat Machlok is that if he was negligent, it's considered negligence if he dropped it. And Machlokes is if he's chayiv onesu, onus rachmana patre, techsiv l'na'al l'sasa dava. Everyone knows that onus is pater in everything. Like it says that if there was a Mises nus and the girl didn't do anything, she was raped, so then she's pater because that she was an honest. So an honest is pater, they're not responsible. Tosis has problems that we found before that a man, Adam Mazik is chayiv on an honest. That we said, bein honest, bein shogeg, a man is chayiv. So how come you don't say that you pater on everything? The honest is always pater. So Tosis talks about it. Just we mentioned that there's a Rishalmi that they bring down that an honest gomer is pater even by Adam. Even Adam is also pater, but it's not a sugi over here. It means the sugi by Adam. You have to go back to Adam and ask a kasha that here Gemara says no such thing as being chayiv honest. And some say taki even by Adam Amazik also onus gomer is going to be pater. We said the case of sleeping, ben er ben yashin. But if a person went to sleep and nobody was around, and then somebody put something next to him when he was sleeping, that's why onus gomer could be his pater also. But all the sugya is a side sugya. I mean the sugya about Adam being pater chayiv onus. That's not our sugya, and that's a kasha over there. So if we go in our Gemara, the Gemara says it can't be that Rebbe is going to be hold chayiv for the bor, for the cad breaking bonus. It's holding onto the handle and it fell and became a bor. It can't be chayiv because it was an onus. You might say that the pasuk over there is only talking about being chayiv misa, that the woman over there was a mises nus, and it says that she's pater because she was an onus. Maybe only the gabi that, but maybe a person is chayiv in the zaken by onus. But Tanya, I'm going to show you a males that the onus is pater. So we're going to bring a brisa now. Most of the brisa is not relevant to where we're holding now. We just want to bring the end of the brisa. It's going to say, Meir also holds that the zaken is part of bonus. Just to if you shrink the Gemara and just take out the Tamsit. So Rabbi said the machlokes review that of Meir is the onus. If it was carelessness that he dropped the jug, everybody else that you chayiv for the board that you made. Machlokes is if you made a board onus, it wasn't your fault at all, and the mayor holds chayiv. And the vice kash is going to be then the vice is going to say beferish that the mayor holds that the board that you made onus is also putter. So I could put in parentheses. It's not such a parentheses because the Gemara is going to utilize this price very, very much soon. But just for meanwhile, we'll put it into parentheses, the beginning that we don't need, but we have to concentrate on it because we're going to use it a lot soon. Somebody's jug broke and he didn't take it away. He didn't take away the pieces. He left it over there. Or his camel fell and he didn't stand him up. And then it was a bore, another camel fell on him. Somebody got hurt from the shards. So
these are cases of onus, we're saying, or
no.
no?
I was careless.
That's why in parentheses. I want to get to the case at the end of the brisa to talk about an onus. That we don't need this part of the brisa now, but we should hold on to it because it's going to be very part of our sugya. But still, it's in the sidelines. So a card broke or a gummel fell and he didn't pick him up, and then it damaged as a bore. Putter. We'll continue a little bit later. Putter mi dine adam b'chai b'dine shemayim. So machlokes, in this case, that he had a jug that fell, that broke. What does it say again? Nishba, that broke. And a gummel that fell, but he didn't pick it up. Rabbi says it's high for the damage that it does. And Rachamim says he's putter. He's putter in this world. Hashem will hold him responsible, but Bezdin doesn't obligate him. So machlokes. We don't know too much about the machlokes yet, but we'll hold on to this machlokes. He didn't clean it up. It says in the words he didn't clean it up. That's machlokes if he's high or not. It said the Brisa says that sometimes the Chachamim are molded to Rav Meir that is chayiv, and sometimes Rav Meir is molded to Rabban that is putter. The case that the Chachamim are molded to Rav Meir is if he took a stone, a knife, a package, that he put it in his rooftop, and it fell in a regular wind. He should have expected that it's going to fall, and it damaged. After we said that damaged after it landed, I think that was the beginning of the Masechta. We spoke about a tzad Shabbat to learn out from Eish and Bor. Even a Bor that was not created only with the Ruach Mitzuya, Eish always goes with the Kol Kacham Me'urabah. That how does the fire damage? By being transported with the Ruach. So you hire for a Bor that was created with the Ruach. So here it says that everybody agrees that if the way that the Bor was created was with the Ruach Mitzuya, everybody holds that Yechayev. Even though there's some machlokas before about not cleaning up the mess, they didn't clean up the Bor, so the Rabbanan said that he's putter. But if the Bor was made by a Ruach Mitzuya, so then he is chayiv. All this I'll put in parentheses. Till now we didn't need it so much. Now we're getting to the punchline that the Gemara is looking for. Moder Rav Meir Rabbana, b'malak and kana malagag, almanas l'naglan, b'naf l'bruach she'ena Mitzuya b'ziko shu poter. Rav Meir agrees to Rabbana that if he took up jugs, kankanim jugs, he put it up to the roof in order to dry. After he made them, so he wants them to dry, to clay, whatever the case is, and they fell in a ruach she'ena mitzuya. I don't know why I changed the example from amnusakina maso to kankanim. It doesn't make a difference. If it was a ruach mitzuya, everybody holds that he's chayiv. If it was a ruach she'ena mitzuya, unexpected wind. They didn't expect such kind of wind.
Wrong season.
It was middle of a nice, calm season, and all of a sudden a hurricane came. He didn't have to expect that. And then he's putter. Why is he putter? Because it's onus. So that's what the Gemara is asking. That's all the Gemara needs. The first cases we didn't need for our purposes. We just bring to bring a proof that the Meir agrees that the onus is putter. So Abai is asking Rabba. You Rabba say that the machlokas in the Mishnah is if the card broke the onus. That can't be. The Meir wouldn't know that it's high bonus. So Abai is going to say his own pshat. Abaye is, even though he can say a simple pshat, he could say simple, but he doesn't say simple because he has other problems. It means when he started Gemara, if you would make a simple Gemara, so I would have suggested that the question was, what does Miskaven mean? Rabbi says Miskaven means that he wanted to take it off his shoulder, which we said doesn't mean such a Miskaven. It means like he wasn't careful of some sort. He was middle of taking it down, or he was holding it, but he didn't hold it good enough and well enough, and it broke. And that was the case that Rabbi said everyone knows that's Kayyim. And Abaye says, what's the case that there's even machlokas? When it's the onus, can't be. Or may holds the onus is also putter. So Abaye essentially is going back to the simple pshat that Miskaven means he wanted to break it. Miskaven the shoulder. So yeah, and it's simpler. And we would have thought that's simple Pshat of the Mishnah, that everyone agrees that if you want Rav Yehuda tells Rav Meir, I agree that if he intentionally broke it and then somebody slipped on the water and the shards, so then he's chayiv because he made the bor mamish. But if it just dropped out of his hand unintentionally, like he was maneuvering it to take it down on the floor, or he wasn't careful enough when he was carrying it, that's the machlokis. So really, that's all about you have to say. Just to get the terminology, we can use the terminology now. The Gemara is going to talk about niskal. We say, okay, Ashkenazim say niskal, or nitkal. It's going to be not niskal with a samak, which means skila. Niskal is going to be that he tripped. Somebody that trips, takala, that he tripped. When somebody trips, is it considered negligence or not? Niskal. Right. Does it happen? The Gemara, this word's coming up. Niskal poshe, niskal la poshe. The Gemara's going to talk about these. Is it considered this word here? For instance, right? Coming up, nitkal. This word here. This is going to be the word nitkal. How you want to? We'll say nitkal just to make it nitkal poshe. So it's not the way Ashkenazim would say. They would say nitkal, or the real way to say it is nitkal. Yeah, but it sounds like skila. It doesn't have to do with skila. This is stuff. So it means takala. It means like a stumbling block. So if somebody trips, what would you say if somebody trips? Is it a negligence or not? Is it a negligence or it's not a negligence?
Well, he didn't move the shards.
I'm talking about tripping.
Is it
the fact that is it a negligence to trip?
Maybe.
But one question:
No.
Is it a negligence to trip? Somebody trips. They have in the newspaper when the president trips. They put on the newspaper. The president tripped.
Negligence. Something got in his way.
Are you supposed to look where you're going enough that you shouldn't trip?
That's a good question.
Or he tripped without any.
Did I expect it to be a pavement, uneven pavement?
Okay, are you supposed to look where you're going enough that you should?
I pay Arnona. There should be good pavements.
Okay, it could be. Could be supposed to look where you're going. It could be that he tripped without stepping up without a bore. Then maybe that's also make it a simple question. Somebody tripped. What did he trip on? He tripped. His legs tripped. So
he didn't lift his foot high enough.
He didn't
Lift his foot high enough.
He didn't lift his foot high enough.
And he didn't purposely not lift his foot high enough.
Right.
So I would say it's
no, it's not purpose. No, just everyone. No, everyone knows that it wasn't intentional. The question is it a negligence?
No.
Is it a negligence? Say it's not a negligence.
I say so.
And Khan David, anybody?
I think it's just
30 years ago, I would have said yes.
Right. I was about to say
now I say no.
A lot depends on the age of the person.
Okay, I have to talk about all people. All people are equal. So it's
people trip. Young children also trip. It's
That's
by accident. It's an
accident. It could be as a negligence. Just because it happens doesn't mean that it's not a negligence. People are not always careful. You should have been. The kid comes home with torn pants, and the mother says you should have been careful. So is there room for a machlokas? Room for a machlokas. So that's going to be the machlokas. Nitkal poshe, nitkal la poshe. So in the Mishnah, Rabbi is happy to say that that's the machlokas. What did the Mishnah say? That the nishbur kado, that the jug got broken. Rabbi Meir says chayev, and Rabbi Yehuda says pater. Why? Machlokas. If the fact that it broke, was it your negligence, or you tripped? It's not your negligence. Easy machlokas. When is Rabbi Yehuda masking that? What does Rabbi Yehuda say? Miskaven. What does miskaven mean? He intentionally broke it. A simple Mishnah. Go back to the Mishnah, yesterday's Mishnah.
To whom? Rabbi Yehuda said if it's miskaven.
Right. What is here's the Mishnah? Try to get it in focus. This was yesterday's Mishnah, a little smaller even. That's here it is. No, still wow. And then somebody tripped, whatever the case was. Chayev. Tana Kamma Rameir says chayev. But Yehuda says only miskaven is chayev, but any miskaven is pater. So a very nice shot. Miskaven means if he intentionally broke it, then I agree that you're chayev. But if he didn't intentionally broke it, so what happened? It fell. How did it fall? How did it fall? Because he tripped. Well, it's tripping doesn't mean only his feet. It means also that he was carrying the jug and it fell out of his hands. And the mother asks, why did it fall out of your hands? I dropped it. Why did he drop it? Is that called a posheya? So machlokes. Rameir says chayev, that nitkal posheya. Nitkal doesn't only mean tripping. It also means dropping something. He's holding something and it dropped. Either because he's putting it down or because he wasn't holding it well enough. Is that called a negligence or not? Rameir says yes. Rabbi Yehuda says no. That would be simple to read the Gemara. The Gemara is going to get much longer than I said. But in essence, that's what Abai is answering. Again, just to summarize the Gemara. Rabbi said that everybody holds nitkal posheya. I'm just saying what the Gemara doesn't say. Rabba, the first Mount says everybody holds nitkal as posheya. So Rabbi Yehuda wouldn't have said potter if he just dropped it. The case, he can't drop it by mistake. Rabbi Yehuda also would hold chayiv. So you have to say that dropping it by mistake, everybody holds as chayiv. And the case that Rabbi Yehuda says potter is when it's an onus, and Rabbi Meir holds even onus is also potter, is also chayiv. That Abaya challenge says you can't say Rabbi Meir holds that onus is chayiv, but Pesha Brisa says that Rabbi Meir holds onus is potter. It must be that everybody holds that onus is potter, and Rabbi Meir is coming to say nitkal is posheya. Rabbi is coming to say nitkal la posheya, and he says only if you wanted to break it, that's when you're chayiv. So this issue of nitkal, is it considered a negligence or not? Is machlokes of Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi, everybody holds that as a negligence. According to Abai, that's a machlokes. Rabbi Meir holds that as a negligence, and Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's not a negligence. So I said the Gemara that the Gemara is not going to be, but the Gemara doesn't say so simply. The Gemara throws in another machlokes, and the whole we didn't ask for it. We didn't ask for two machlokes in the Mishnah, but the Abai is going to put in another machlokes into the Mishnah also, and it's going to say the Gemara is going to say a diuk that is mashma they're arguing about two things, which the Gemara is going to have to then find where does it say that in the Mishnah. There's another issue coming. So let's see it so much so far. Okay, I'll say more because the Gemara right away jumps into more than I just said. So another introduction. What if somebody, it was an onus that it fell. Everybody holds that as an onus. Whatever onus happened, it dropped out of the hand. He still has the handle, and it melted, or the screw came out, like Chaim David said. So it was an onus that it fell, but he didn't pick it up.
That's honest. I mean, that's mechaven.
He didn't pick it up. He could have. If he couldn't have picked it up, then it's the same thing that just fell. Just because he had a minute, somebody else came. If he didn't have time to pick it up yet, the case was he didn't have time to pick it up, and somebody else came and tripped on it. So that's the same thing as the initial dropping it. So if it was an onus, it was an onus. But if he did have time to pick it up, now one more factor. If he still owns it, he didn't want to be mafkir. The pieces are also worth something to him. It wasn't mafkir. He didn't disown the pieces. So then, no question that he's chayiv because he has a bor in the Rishus Harabim. It belongs to him. Yeah, surely he's chayiv for that. But the question would be if he was mafkir. I'll give an example. Somebody's going with a tray of eggs, and let's say a case where it wasn't his fault. He pushed it. He got pushed. Okay. He got pushed by something, whatever, and it fell. Now we have a whole tray of eggs on the floor, smashed eggs, and he doesn't want the eggs. There's no reason why he wants the eggs. Surely mafkir it. Is he chayiv for the damages that the eggs might do? Does he have to go right away to clean it up? Of course, if he didn't have a chance to clean it up. So
somebody's going to slip.
What's that to do with me?
What are you talking about? That's a bore.
I made a bore. It was an onus. I was pushed.
Right, but onus is on
the guy who pushed
the onus is on his on him for the Lisa, but he still has some kind of obligation.
I didn't make a bore. If it belongs to me still, if it will be something I want to have still, so then for sure it's going to be chayiv because it belongs to you. If it will be whatever you want to say, case that he had it's a box and the box fell and broke, but he wants the pieces of the box. He wants to put it together. He wants to use the wood. Then it's his. So it's a bore. You own a bore which is around him. But if he doesn't own it, like the tray of broken eggs that he doesn't want anymore, and it wasn't his fault that it fell, so is he chayav? So is there room to talk? Is there room to have a discussion about? And that might be machlokas. That's going to be called mafkin azakav la'achar nefilas onus. If it was a pshia that it fell, so then we're going to obligate him for the pshia, for the negligence. But if we can't obligate him for the negligence, all we can obligate him is for not picking it up. If he was not mafkirit, then surely he's chayiv. But even if he was, mafkirit, there's room for a machlokas. And the Gemara is going to put the issue also into the Mishnah, also going to be a machlokas of Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. But Meir says chayiv is going to say mafkin zakav lachan nefilas onus is chayiv, and Rabbi Yehuda say potter. He's only chayiv. But a miskavin, but we'll fit into the Mishnah. But any miskavin is going to be potter.
Jesus should be the case. The chachamim enough that they leave it there because he's
I'm not sure what you mean.
He's mafkir, and therefore says, I don't do it. That's not my business. And somebody comes and trips and breaks their skull. Is that
What's that have to do with him? What's that have to do with him?
You can daven for me.
He'll be a whole place.
לא יקרא דבר רע על ידיי.
It was honest, though. The honest is not called that it's mitaches to al yadin.
You should do tshuva. Why did that thing fall on this guy through him? You should do tshuva for that.
Maybe it's not even called through him because he was an onus, and onus is not attributed to him.
No, but something bad happened.
Through him, even though it was an onus, even though he had nothing to do.
He's the Gorem, even if it's
Okay, but that's really on okay, but that's only on
it's a Hasidic difference. It's definitely Midas Hasidus.
It's
If we're holding halachic.
It's a midas chasidus to clean up somebody else's eggs that are on the floor, even if it's not yours. You pass by, you see a tray of eggs on the floor, and old ladies are passing
That's
by.
true.
So midas chasidus. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about is it your responsibility?
Because you saw it.
What?
You're walking along and you see a bunch of broken eggs on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
and then an old lady comes.
You know how many
and trips in
times?
and
You know how
are
many times I've seen broken glasses in the street,
Okay.
and I actually went to a bottle store owner, and there was real bottles of beer bottles, lots, and right in the middle of Friday morning, he said, "Could you clean it, please? I was buying something." Oh, we'll worry about it. I saw it in 10 minutes. Can you clean it, please? Like, they did nothing. So I went there, and
But Lev Yaakov's asking.
Somebody could really.
Lev Yaakov started asking you that if you wouldn't have done it, would you have been chayav for damages?
Would you have been chayav for the damages? Somebody got hurt.
If you would not have picked it up,
no.
Why not?
Because
you
Because
couldn't
you
do
didn't
it.
do it.
So
That's the
yeah.
same thing here. If it's honest, you didn't.
But I don't live in that way.
Okay.
I don't live there.
So here, when we're saying lo miskaven or kaven, miskaven, lo miskaven, we're going to put that into.
We'll put it.
If once he mafkered it, how do you do it?
So we'll try. We'll see.
Okay,
We'll see tomorrow. Where are we holding now?
We're at.
So I just want to get that one. Okay.
So
El Amar Abaye.
good.
So Abaye, this is going to be Abaye now. El Amar Abaye.
6 lines down.
The Tarti plea. There are 2 machlokas going on, which is really extra credit because we didn't ask for that. We just wanted to know. Tell me 1 machlokas, and Rabbi set up shot which Abaye didn't accept. So Abaye should give a different machlokas. And he gives, but he's going to give 2 machlokas, and then we didn't ask for that. Abaye is going to say why he wants to say there are 2 issues, even though it wouldn't have been necessary. So he says there are 2 issues are going on. The arguing if the responsibility is going to be for him that it fell. B'shas tefillah means the fact that it fell, or if he didn't have enough time to pick it up. But the problem is going to be why did it fall? And the machlokas is going to be some issue if it's his responsibility that he fell. And it's also going to be another machlokas, even if it's not his issue why it fell, it was an onus, but the issue is why didn't he pick it up? And the Gemara explains. The machlokas about when it fell, that it was mazik as soon as it fell, and not enough time to have picked it up. If that's considered a negligence, the fact that he tripped or that he dropped the card. I don't
see the ring.
Is he? They're arguing.
Oh, is the question?
The fact that he no. The fact that he tripped is it considered a negligence? One says yes, one says not. Rabbi says chayiv because he holds nitkal posheya. Why did you trip? Why did you drop the card? So he says I dropped it. I'm mistake. So he said that's a negligence. Rabbi Yehuda holds it's not considered negligence. He didn't throw it down purposely. And the Gemara doesn't bother telling us how does he put it into the Mishnah. Rashi says that he says miskaven means he's miskaven to break it. Like Moshe started in the beginning of the day, that miskaven means miskaven l'shovra. The Gemara doesn't say those words, but Rashi does. Where's Rashi? Yeah, b'miskaven l'shovra. V'chikam Rabbi Yehuda, b'miskaven l'shovra. He intended to break it. That's going to be the case. The miskaven means he just wanted to take it off his shoulder and it dropped it. But if he only if he wanted to break it. So the machlokes, one machlokes we get into the Mishnah is if he dropped it unintentionally. On that, Rabbi Yehuda says poter, Rabbi Meir says chayiv. But Rabbi Meir, for some reason, he wants to tell us another machlokes. Also going to fit it into the Mishnah. The machlokes about after it fell means in a case where you don't blame him for it falling. It fell, not his fault at all. He's holding onto the handle and it fell down. The whole thing, nothing, and got disconnected. Not his
He's doing.
not as doing it all, his onus, but he didn't pick it up, and he was mafkir it. The mafkin is zakov. If he was mafkir his damage that happened, ba'onus. Myself, mafkin is zakov chay, but myself, potter. That's machlokes. That Rameya also holds that if he was mafkir his damage, his bore, even after it fell ba'onus, but he didn't pick it up, it doesn't have to be mafkir. He's still responsible. But Rameya holds that he's potter. So the Gemara said there are two machlokes going on. The Bible says two machlokes going on, but both of them he didn't want to say like Rabbi said. Rabbi said arguing ba'onus if the onus happened. And even for the falling alone, not for the not picking it up. And that Abai doesn't agree.
Usually when it says potter, it means he's not accountable for it, but it's not permitted.
What's not okay? The Gemara says on top of the top line. The top line says Chai b'din Shemayim. That's true. That even if the Gemara is going to say soon that the one also Chai b'din Shemayim, but as far as Bezdin he's potter. Why does Abai want to put two machlokes into the Mishnah? It doesn't seem like that. He could have said one machlokes. Umimai. Where does Abai see that there are two machlokes? The answer is Tani Tati, because it says two examples in the Mishnah. It says it says in the Mishnah that what happened when the jug broke? Somebody slipped on the water, or somebody got hurt from the shards.
Okay.
So how does it say two cases? They're both the same case. Why does it have to give two examples? Sometimes the Gemara doesn't ask the kasha. Sometimes there's a lot of examples and the Gemara is not bothered. Sometimes the Gemara isn't bothered. I'm not sure why. So here the Gemara is bothered. Why are there two examples? It must be Allah. It must be talking about. Must be saying the following: that the reason why it says two examples is to hint to us that two machlokes going on. One is that somebody tripped on the water before he had a chance to pick it up, and over there the machlokes is going to be if he's responsible for creating it. Nitkal poshea, nitkal al poshea. And Rav Meir said chayiv in that case because it shouldn't have fallen. And local b'chazis would be a case of lachanafila that he didn't have. It's not even as a case where it's not his fault that it fell. It's an honest that it fell. But if he didn't pick it up, even though he's mafkir it, Rav Meir still says chayiv. And that Rebbe says potter on both cases.
I'm sorry, what the charsis again?
Charsis is the shard.
The shard.
Meaning charsina, no? That's what it's from. Not from a charsina, from pottery.
Cheres, the word cheres. So that's a bias shot in the Mishnah. How does it fit into the Mishnah? We'll see soon how the word miskaven means. But so far the Gemara accepts a bias two pshatim in the Mishnah, not the two pshatim. The Mishnah says two things. Two machlokes going on, just to get the idea. Abai says for Shaonis is potter, but if two possibilities where he might say that Yechayev, one is if it was a pshia, the fact that it fell was a negligence. Why did it fall? And he calls that nitkal poshea, the fact that you tripped or that you let go of the card by mistake, that's called a negligence. Also, even if it was an honest that it fell, but you had time to pick it up and you didn't pick it up, even if you mafkir it, you're responsible. On both of these things, Rabbi Dawson says no. You're not chayiv if you tripped and fell, dropped it. That's not your responsibility. It's not considered a pshia, it's considered negligence. And if you were mafkir it, even if you had time to pick it up, you're also not chayiv.
So Hando is like Rabbi Meir. It's leaning towards Rabbi Meir. And you should be chayav. You should deal with it.
You should pick it up. Right. The Gemara now takes us back to the Brisa. Before I put in parentheses because of
in Mafkir, we're talking about cases where because there's nothing to do with it. It's like what do we do with it?
I would think that automatically a person's mafkir these things. The Gemara happens to be talking about
because you can't.
Right, what are you going to do it? But the Gemara's going to say not. The Gemara's going to say the water case could be a case that we're not mafkir with. We'll see in a second.
Oh, because the water maybe can use.
How could you use it? How are you going to get at the water? Yeah,
I
don't know. I would think for sure it could be that you mafkir if you the water. What are you going to do with the water? The Gemara says it could be that you want the water. He's going to somehow sponge it up. I don't know.
What about the broken the frame? Like you put it together. Yeah, that's not like it.
So there I can hear better, but by the water I can't hear at all.
No.
I can hear by the part of mafkir, not mafkir, but by the case of the water, I don't hear a case of not being mafkir. But the Gemara has that also.
Why don't you use the word yush? If you yush, I can hear closer to mafkir.
There's nothing here about being a pope. There's a question of being mafkir.
I got nothing to retrieve from this.
That's not called yush. That's called mafkir. You're saying I'm disowning it. Automatically disown. Okay, that's not.
You think it's more?
Okay, but leave it. It's just another way we're saying the same thing. So Well, again, we didn't need this, but Abaya has a diuk in the Mishnah that has come to tell us two halachas. So he sees two machlokas over here that Rameh is machayim both of them, and review the patas both of them. One is niskal posheya as a machlokas, if niskal la posheya, and the other one is if mafkin zakav lachan nefilas onus. If somebody was mafkir the damage that he did, the war that he created by onus, but he was mafkir it now. So what's the problem? He didn't. What he fell is not his fault, and now he doesn't own it anymore. But Meir says still chayiv. You have to pick up the pieces.
How does Meir use, what's his mechanism that keeps the person bound to the mess there, to the shards? What's the mechanism? Because he bemet.
And now you take another side.
I'm asking. No, I'm not saying that I just want to know how Meir is going to get out of this. I agree with him for sure. I agree with the principle. I'm just asking how does he get, you know,
No.
get in
That the fact that it
act
fails
with
not your
Allah.
fault, and not your mafkir it, he's still chayiv. Even okay, before. Okay, I don't know.
Nice day again.
I don't know.
It remains a mazik. That's the problem.
Oops.
The question is he didn't do it. It was honest. The making it was not his fault. The fact that he didn't pick it up, but now he's mafkir it. You're not allowed to be mafkir in this case.
Maybe,
Okay, I don't know.
maybe that's what
So
it
it comes
is.
out of machlokes. So may not be there. According
Not
to
like-
Abaya.
I would think that should not be able to mafkir something which is intrinsic in a mazik.
So you're happy. You're happy with everything.
Yeah. I'm just looking for a mechanism. How's he going to get out of it? You know.
That's how I've written down the lach over here. We pass on like Rabbi Yehuda that mafkin is zakah b'chil asamus is part there. That's the point out the halacha that we don't pass like Rabbi Meir. Just to make a statement that this case of the eggs that fell by mistake, niskal hold niskal la poshe. We hold like Rabbi Yehuda in both of these cases. And both this Rabbi says that arguing in two cases, we hold like Rabbi Yehuda in both of them. That the fact that somebody trips is not considered a negligence. You drop something is not considered a negligence. And mafkin zakah of lachan nefilas onus is putter. But on the top line it says putter medina other b'chai b'dina shemayim means he does have to pay. Not only a chasidus, he does have to pay, but can't force him.
Okay.
The Gemara continues. Okay, the Gemara continues that the price before I put the price in parentheses because we didn't need it. The price that we brought at the bottom of the page, the bottom of Amud Beis, and the beginning of Amud Aleph, we just needed the end of the price, and it says that Meir holds onus is putter. But now looking back at the price, the Gemara is coughing up the price now to show that there was talk about this case, the fact that he didn't pick it up. If you look back at the brisa that we just put in parentheses, Nish brokada below soko, nafal gam lo below hamido. The main b'chayiv is zeker b'chacham put omer and put with the other. He talked about something about broke and he didn't pick it up. He didn't take it away, or the gummo fell and he didn't take it away. And Rameh says chayiv and Bava Kamma say pata, which is very, 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 very similar to what we just spoke about. We said a mafkin is zakov lachan nefilas onus. You have to say the case would have been that he was mafkir the kad and mafkir the gummo, and that's the reason why the Chachamim might say potter. If he was not mafkir the gummo, there's no question that he's chayiv. It's your thing that's in the way. Why are you not taking it away? But we're going to see in this brisa that that's the machlokes if he was mafkir the zakov lachan nefilas onus. But the Gemara wants to say that the same way in the Mishnah you put in two cases because of two examples. The brisa also has two examples. It has a kad and it has a gummo. In the Mishnah, it had two examples that somebody tripped in the water and somebody got hurt from the shards. Here it also says two examples that the kad broke and he didn't take it away, and the gummo fell, he didn't take it away. So the Gemara is going to look for two machlokas in here also. The Gemara wants to insert these two machlokas that Abaye said. One is about mitkal posheya and one is about mafkin azaka lachan nefilas onus. The Gemara wants to put into the brisa also. That's the next issue of the Gemara. Since the Mishnah, because of two examples, it meant to tell you two machlokasin, so the brisa probably also has two machlokasin. No, not at all.
What is it doing?
Since it gives two examples, it's going to find that there are two machlokasin going on, and not only that, the Gemara is going to want that each example can be both cases, which also you don't need. If you have one example for one example for the other one, and I don't know, this is very, very unusual, and it's not even necessary. It's not so necessary. So the Bryce talks about one case, so he doesn't have to have all the cases, but the Gemara is going to try to fit both machlokasin into this Bryce. And again, the Bryce is so rich that it talks about that he didn't pick it up. If you look at anybody, the average reader would say the Bryce is talking about the taina on him. Why did you pick it up? The cart broke and you didn't pick it up. The camel fell, you didn't pick it up. It's fairish. But the Gemara wants to find also this can be machlokas, even if the issue is not why you didn't pick it up. The issue is why did it fall? Was the nitkal kosher? Again?
And if you made it hefker or not, is that
No, being hefker is only issue if you had if it wasn't your fault that it fell.
Oh.
And then you want to talk about why you didn't pick it up, and he's mafkir, is that an excuse? I was mafkir with that, I don't have to pick it up anymore. But if it was your fault that it fell, so it's not only a tiny why didn't you pick it up? Why did it fall? So the Gemara is going to put both machlokas into this, right? So also l'chora unnecessary. But the Gemara is going to want to say that both cases can mean either case. That's also like even a bigger chiddush. Like why do that? It'd be very nice that one case should mean the time is why did you fall? Why did it break? And the other case is why did you not pick it up? But the Gemara, for some reason, wants to put both possibilities into each case. So again, this machlokas or is going to say, Chayiv, why did it fall? Because you tripped. We shouldn't have tripped. And the other case is, why didn't you pick it up? Even if it wasn't a time, why did it fall? But why did you not pick it up? So obviously,
What are we asking them?
Abaye explained that if it has two examples, it means two machlokas going on. And he told you that two machlokas are in the Mishnah.
Nice.
The Gemara is saying the Brisa also has two examples, fit it into the Brisa also. And not only fit it into the Brisa and say two examples, but each example could mean both of the machlokas. So in the case of the Nishbra Kado, you have to get a possibility that the time the machlokas says, why did you fall? Is it considered a negligence, the fact that you fell or not? Another case is going to be Nafal Gamla below Amido. I'm sorry. I went too fast. Nishbra Kado, one machlokas is, why did you fall? Another machlokas is, even if we can explain why you fell, it was honest, but why did you not pick it up? And also in the case of the Gomel, also two examples. You have to get a case that the Gomel fell and it was your fault that it fell. Machlokas, if it's your fault, nitkal poshea, nitkal la poshea. And also,
you took him on
he tripped and that made the camel fall.
All right, that's going to be the answer. But it takes time to figure it out. That's what the Gemara is because you can't say machlokas if it camel tripping is a pshia or not. That has to do with me. So the Gemara is going to have difficulty.
On a rough terrain.
No, but then that's the camel's fault.
Or call that it's a person's fault for bringing him into such kind of terrain. Why should he go there? So the Gemara is going to talk about that. But the Gemara is going to try to fit into the case of the camel. One issue is why did it fall? And even in the case where it's not a kasha why it fell, but why didn't you pick him up? So that's the Gemara Gemara now. So it looks like all extra credit. You don't really have to. If you wouldn't have it, I wouldn't have. But that's what the Gemara wants to do. Since the Mishnah includes both cases, so the Brisa also probably does. It has two examples, and the Gemara says, the case of the jug, I could say that it's talking about one of the two cases. The question was, why did it trip? That it broke by mistake. Is that mistake considered a negligence or not? And you also could talk about that it was not your fault that it fell, but how come you didn't pick it up? Right, very nice. The case could contain either one of these pshatim.
So we think Bryce is like what we learned before. In the
it could fair. Abaye could explain the Bryce the same as the Mishnah. Ela gamlo, but the case of the camel, the mafkin of the case that you're talking about, that if he was mafkir after it fell by onus. It wasn't his fault that it fell. But the question is, so now pick it up. So he was mafkir it. Of course, not going to be mafkir a live camel. But we'll say the cases that it died, then it's mafkir didn't avail. Then didn't avail anymore. So say that that's the case. That would be good. That the machlokes is, why did you not take it away? Mafkin, the Rabbi says doesn't have to be mafkin a of lachan nefilas. He's still responsible. And it really says he potter. He didn't adam. But el b'shas nefil mishkachasla. How is it possible to arguing b'shas that the camel fell is machlokes if it's your fault or not? How can anybody hold it's your fault that the camel fell? There's a case where you're negligent for the camels falling. She brought it through a place where it was going through water. Sarata the Nara, Rashi says, Nara means a river. Nara is a river. She went through the water. He passed it through the water. There, Sarata. So Rashi says Sarata means when the river is overflowing. It's a high tide. High tide river, you're supposed to know camels can fall. It's a pshia. And therefore, the machlokes will be, is it considered your fault that the camel fell? But Meir will say, Chayiv, Rabbi will say, Pata b'dinei adam. But the Gemara is unhappy with that example. What's the case of going through the water? If there's a different way to go, a different road, a detour you could take. So everyone knows you're not allowed to take a camel in a case where it very well might fall, and then people will trip on it, whatever will happen. the other camels will trip on it. So then it's a pshia. It's not okay. No one will hold that. No, it won't be machlokas. Everybody will hold that as a pshia. Either like a dakachmin, if there's no other way to go, what should he do? Honestly, he's on the road and he comes to a place where there's over high tide. What's he supposed to do? Stand over there? He has to go. So that's considered an onus. So we didn't get to explain the case of the camel falling. That's machlokas if it's his fault or not. Either it's his fault or it's not his fault. The case will be that he tripped and the camel tripped on him. So then, is it his fault that he tripped? If it's his fault, it goes back to the same thing. The person is the cause of the camel falling. If the person fell, it's considered an onus. So then the camel falling on him is considered an onus. If the person falling is a pshia, it's a negligence, so then the camel falling on him is a pshia. So the Gemara is happy to get both cases into the brisa before, and Rabbi Abaya sees in the diuk of the Mishnah and the brisa that there are two machlokas going on. Rabbi holds nitkal poshea, Rabbi holds nitkal la poshea. Rabbi holds mafkin azak of lachna filas onus is chayiv, and Rabbi holds mafkin azak of lachna filas onus is potter. And we pass him like Rabbi, excuse me, and both machlokas.
You pass it like Rabbi Yehuda.
Right, the one who's more lenient. Thank you. It's more lenient that if someone trips and the mother comes home, and the mother asks, "Where is the jug?" And the kid says, "I tripped." And the mother says, "Why did you trip?" So he says, "We pass like Rabbi Yehuda, nitkal la poshe." And then the other case is that the tray of eggs falls.
Pass it like Rabbi Yehuda. Then what did you say?
That he's part of the nitkal la poshe. He's not la poshe, and probably it's because says that, but chay v'din shamay. So I'm not sure what the mother says over there. There's the mother take over din shamayim or not. The other machlokas is that the eggs, tray of eggs fell, or a bottle of oil, whatever the case would be, that fell ba'onus. In the case where everybody holds that it's not his fault, or we all like a view that's not his fault that he tripped, but then he didn't clean it up. So the mother says, okay, even if you're an onus, but you didn't clean it up and someone fell, someone might fall. So he says, if I Rabbi Yehuda, that I'm mafkin the zakah, but I'm mafkin. What I'm doing with the oil on the floor? What am I going to do with the eggs on the floor? So mafkin the zakah, lachan afilas onus is pater. Again, pater min adam chay b'din shema. What is that? What was that?
Did Rabbi Yehuda live in a chatzir? Bunch of kids. Just wondering.
The kids are pater even if they were damaged intentionally. Like that's
Even intentionally.
yeah. That's kids.
No, and the parents.
Parents are not responsible for the kids' damages. But they should send the challah, whatever.
We need climbed up in a chatzir.
He'll take care. He'll clean up all. Okay. The Gemara says, "Mafkin is zakav my miskavanika." So this was Levi Yaakov's question before. How do you fit this? How do you fit this into the Mishnah? It means the second machlokes about mafkin is zakav lachan afilas onus. The Gemara, Rabbi wants to put into the Mishnah also. So how does it fit into the Mishnah? We'll go back to the Mishnah. That's the number I'll look over there.
We're out of Bryce now.
We're out. No, what do you mean? Mafkin is zakav lachan afilas onus.
Well, I thought we were talking about Bryce.
So we finished. We finished already. We said, how does it fit? We got a shot. The camel that he gets tripped on the camel, right?
Oh, that he tripped it. Oh, that either that he the nevela he mafkir, or because it died.
Right, that would be shalot afterwards. Mafkin is zakav. In the case of Shasta Pila, what's machlokas if it's his fault that the camel tripped because it tripped on him? Was it his fault that he tripped? Okay, that was done. And now the Gemara is going back to the pshat that if I wants to put into the Mishnah, this machlokas, both machlokas go to the Mishnah. That Rabbi is arguing about 2 points, and he says both of them are pata. So the pshat about miskaven, in contrast to tripping, Sabida says dafka if you miskaven, dafka if you intentionally broke it, not if you unintentionally broke it. But the other machlokas you want to put into the Mishnah also about mafkin zakav lachan afilas onus. How do you fit that into the words? What do you see in the words that Rita says that that's pater if you're mafkin zakav? How do you see that in the words? So the Gemara is going to say, but Rabbi Yaakov started mentioning, miskaven chayiv will mean that you are miskaven to own, to retrieve the pieces. I want to own it. Ein miskaven means I don't want to own it. So it's hefker. So that's how it's going to fit into the Mishnah. 1 point, the word miskaven, ein miskaven, mamish has 2 meanings. It's like amazing Gemara. Like I've listened to say the whole time. There's not a regular Gemara. So, yeah, it doesn't say the words mafkir here. It says in the Mishnah, miskaven and ein miskaven.
Oh.
How do you fit into the Mishnah?
Right.
So he's going to say miskaven means that you want to own it. And any miskaven means you don't intend to own it. So automatically, I guess that means that it becomes hefker. Usually, the tray of eggs, the shards, you don't want all these things. So to fit into the Mishnah, we're going to say miskaven has two cases. One is in the case of nitkal posheya, some miskaven means that you only chayiv if you intentionally broke it. You're not chayiv if you didn't intentionally broke it. And as far as mafkin zakav lachan the field of bonus, the reader says that if you want to retrieve it, you want to own it, then you're going to be chayiv because it belongs to you. But any miskaven, so it's mafkin zakav lachan the field of it's going to be potter. A very unusual Gemara, and you didn't need all of this Lachara, but the Gemara fits it into the Mishnah. That's the Gemara over here. Let's make it bigger again. It starts over here. Mafkin Zakav, my Miskavan. How do you fit this into the Mishnah? That the Rebbe is saying that Mafkin Zakav is butter. How do you see the Mishnah Miskavan and Miskavan? Rav Yosef and Miskavan. This goes for Chavasah. Miskavan means if you want to retrieve, you want to own the pieces, the shards. Then you said then you chaim because you own it, so you can't leave a board that you own.
That means it's your money, and it would be even more.
That's a bore. That's a bore.
No, I thought a bore is when it's hefker. So this is not hefker because you're.
Oh, so okay. Then we had a focus about that. We had a focus of. That's right. That's Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Shmuel holds this also. Who's who? I forgot who. Shmuel holds this. And Yechayiv, it's a Skila Yashor. And Shmuel said that's a bore. Everybody else Yechayiv for it. The question is it a bore or even a shore? Yechayiv on Kalim or not?
I see.
Numan Diamar. Rabbi Loza Omer B'Shas Nefila Machlokes. Seems to be no Machlokes. We'll put it in. We'll make it just as the more things right now. We had a Rabba and we had a Baya. Now we have Rabbi Loza. It means Rabbi Loza Amor, Rabbi Loza Ben Pedas. Rabbi Loza Omer B'Shas Nefila Machlokes. That the Machlokes is Rabbi Yehuda of Meir. Machlokes is the fact that you fell, the fact that it fell, which we called before nitkal posheya, nitkal posheya, the fact that somebody trips, is it his negligence or not? So that's what Abai said. Abai said that such machlok is going on, but he said there are two machlokas going on. Abai said two machlokas going on. Rabbi Loza seems to say one machlok is going on. The machlok is it considered a pshia that he fell down?
He's a tzara.
Rabbi Loza is an amor.
He's an amor. Okay.
There is a Rabbi Loza Ratana, but there's also a Rabbi Loza Amor. Rabbi Loza Ben Pedas. Rabbi Loza Ben Shemua is the Tana. Rabbi Loza Ben Pedas is an Amora. So he seems to be arguing an Abai and Rabba, and he says that Machlokes is B'Shas Nefila. That fact that he fell is not called Nitkal Posheya, not. Rabbi Meir says Nitkal Posheya, Rabbi Yehuda says Nitkal Posheya, which is what Abai said, but Abai said two Machlokes. And he seems to say only one Machlokes. And the Gemara says, Aval Lachan Nefila Mai Dibri Akol Pater. You want to say that after it fell, and he didn't pick it up, everyone knows butter. Now Gemara is going to bring back, recall the brisa which we had at the bottom of the page, the bottom of the previous page, which says beferish. Something about the achash stilko. You can't forget the pashup shot in the brisa that there was a kad shenishbar and he didn't take it away. Lo silko, nafal gamlo, below amido. Even if you don't put two pshatim into the brisa, one pshat surely it says that the taina is that you didn't pick it up. Rabbi says you're for not picking it up. Chum say butter for not picking it up if you were mafkir it. So how could you say that's the Gemara's kasha going to be? How could you ignore this machlokes? Rabbi Loza seems to be saying there is no such machlokes. There's only one machlokes. Only rachan nefila. The fact that you fell is that considered a negligence or not? Nitkal posheya, nitkal posheya. But he doesn't recognize there's a machlokes about rachan nefila. And the kasha is that the brisa said ferish is such a machlokes. This without any fancy reading. That's what it says. Lo hasilko, lo amido. The time is he didn't pick it up. And Rabbi says chayif. Chum say potter. How could Rabbi Loza ignore this brisa? That's the Gemara's kasha here. Rabbi Loza said, "B'shas nefila machlokes." That's the Rabbi Loza's words. The Gemara jumps up, and at the other machlokes, guys, butter. You hold that if he happened to own this, and then he was mafkirit, everyone else butter. So he could have made the machayiv. Rabbi Meir says, "Beferish that you are chayiv in this case." That was the brisa. So how could you ignore this machlokes? And what you want to say? Everybody holds chayiv. Elamai divi akol chayiv. No, the machlokes over there also said. Rabbi Yehuda says potter. One of the fatri. So what is Rabbi Loza saying? Only b'shas nefila machlokes. For sure, there's a machlokes about lachan nefila. Elamai b'shas nefila. What did Rabbi Loza mean to say? B'shas nefila is missing a word. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Loza Amar af. Put this word in. This word should be inserted over there. Rabbi Loza Amar af b'shas nefila machlokes. The kamash malon kedabai. All he meant to say is Abai is right. There are two machlokes going on. He meant both of them, and there's no machlokes, so we can take away Rabbi Loza because he says the same as Abai. Third opinion. Before we thought it was a third opinion, but now we see it's not a third opinion. Rabbi Eliezer says, like same as Abaye.
Oh, I'm not, I don't believe I'm Jewish. And so you wait like this, you think I'm right? And it gives them a whole.
So I can go a little bit for a little bit. We'll start tomorrow. We'll start again from the top of the page because I can't go too much further. I didn't prepare more, but just a little bit. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, he also seems to be a new opinion of Abaye and Rava. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, la'achan nefila machlokes. If you take the words literally, he says the machlokes is only la'achan nefila, which is very simple. Like almost like the Bryce said the case about lo silko and lo hamido, and he wants to put the same thing into the Mishnah. There's only one machlokes going on in the Mishnah. I'm sorry, in the Brisa, we have no kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. But Belasa was the opposite. Belasa said the machlokes is only b'shas nefila. You can't say only b'shas nefila because the Brisa says perish. There's some machlokes going on about not picking it up. So we have to change. Rabbi Belasa didn't mean that. But Rabbi Yochanan, so far, if he would say only lachat fila machlokes, we wouldn't have any tightness on him. Very nice. Fits into the Brisa word for word. The Mishnah is good. The arguing, if everyone knows that falling is an onus, or the case was that it was an onus, and machlokes was that why didn't you pick it up? Is it enough of an excuse to say that was mafkir or not? But the Gemara is only going to ask because Rabbi Yochanan himself happened not to say like that. There's no kasha from the Brisa, but the Gemara does ask on Rabbi Yochanan. You said differently. There's no machlokes about niskal posher. Everybody holds niskal posher. La posher. Everybody holds that you put it for falling. The machlokes is if you didn't pick it up. So with the Kamma of Yochanan the Kaman, lo tema b'sisra mei dam niskal posher. Rabbi Yochanan said with Ferish, there's a machlokes about niskal posher or not. This is Rabbi Yochanan's words. I'm just making it in a. I'm trying to make quotation marks. Yeah, this is the words of Rabbi Yochanan. These words is Rabbi Yochanan's words later on. Do not say our mission is only Rabbi Meir that says that it's a negligence to trip. So he said these words. These are words Rabbi Yochanan said. So Rabbi Yochanan recognizes there's a Rabbi Meir that says this kalposhea. So don't tell me how could Rabbi Yochanan here in the top line say they're only arguing about la'achan nefila if you should have picked it up or not, and there's no machlokes about shas nefila and everybody holds pater. Rabbi Yochanan says fairish. Rabbi Meir holds that falling is a negligence. So Rabbi Yochanan will be contradicting himself. We can deduce from that Rabbi Meir holds niskal posheya. So how could Rabbi Yochanan say that there's no such machlokes? Everyone holds niskal la posheya. Rabbi Yochanan.
Sorry, the mayor said chayav.
Yes, but now if Rabbi Meir said chayav in the case of la'achan nefila, Rabbi Yochanan la'achan nefila machlokes, which means the chorah. They're only arguing about the fact that you didn't pick it up. The fact that you fell is not a taina. The taina is why didn't you pick it up? Those were the two scenarios we spoke about. Just nefila, la'achan nefila.
And don't.
What if
he said later? Don't say our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir.
You just see that Rabbi Yochanan recognizes there's a Mishnah later on, different Mishnah, that Rabbi Meir says niskal posheya. Rabbi Yochanan agrees that Rabbi Meir's mandama says niskal posheya. Whatever Mishnah he's referring to, different Mishnah. He wants to know a certain Mishnah if it fits with Rabbi Meir or not.
Yeah.
So he says it's not Rabbi Meir who says niskal posheya. Where did Rabbi Yochanan get that Rabbi Meir holds niskal posheya? Where does he know that Rabbi Meir holds niskal posheya? Because that's how he learned in our Mishnah. In our Mishnah, when it said that
B'shas
nefila, that's what it means. This posheya. That is there negligence, the fact that you fell. So Rabbi Yochanan knows of such a Rabbi Meir. Where is it? Which Rabbi Meir is that? That's our Mishnah.
From the fact that he knows that it's chayav, isn't it from our Mishnah?
Right. Where does Rabbi Yochanan get that Rabbi Meir holds? So how come he says the machlokes is only la'achan nefila? If he'd hold that, then he wouldn't have said that Rabbi Meir holds niskal posheya because the machlokes.
It's obvious that niskal posheya is a machlokas.
Right, and that means which means b'shas nefila. And Rabbi Yochanan seemed to have only said la'achan nefila machlokes. And what are you going to say? That everybody holds chayav. That he doesn't recognize him on them when it says pater. Elamai divya kol chayav. You wanted Rabbi Yochanan here by saying la'achan nefila machlokes means that b'shas nefila everybody would hold niskal posheya like Rabbi Meir. But he didn't say that. He says Rabbi Meir. He said Rabbi Meir is the one who says niskal posheya. That means that he recognizes that Rabbi an argument of Meir and say niskal la posheya. But when it comes to Rabbi Yochanan, come on, those same words, as quoting again, the same words. Rabbi Yochanan said, "No time is the same words." He said, "Don't say the Mishnah over there is Rabbi Meir says this posheya." That means that he holds that there's only Rabbi Meir that says this posheya. So back to this question: what in the so Rabbi Yochanan recognizes over there that there's a machlokas of b'shas nefila. So why does he say that our Mishnah is la'achan nefila? He holds that the Mishnah is also b'shas nefila. Like Abaya said, they're arguing about two things.
It seems
A contradiction in Rabbi Yochanan.
just like Rabbi Eliezer.
But Rabbi Elazar was a kasha from the Brisa. Here's a kasha only between himself, contradicting himself. Rabbi Elazar said, "L'shas tefillah machlokes." There's a fresh Brisa that says something about the card that he didn't take away to pieces, and the kamal that he didn't take away. There says fresh is a Brisa against Rabbi Elazar to say the only arguing
I see.
is shas tefillah, not nachan
I
tefillah.
hear it's Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yochanan himself.
Against
talking
himself,
about,
right.
Don't say Rabbi Meir who holds this.
Right. So he says
How
that.
did he get that?
Right. So it's still Rabbi Yochanan.
Okay.
Ella,
Rabbi Yochanan, yeah.
Ella, Kamashmalan. Rabbi Yochanan didn't mean to say that there's no such machlokes about shas nefila. And the mashmalan the mafkin zakov the hacha who the patri abanan the anasu the mafkin zakov the alma mechayvi. I didn't get to this was our stop. I didn't prepare already. So that's the end of what we're learning today. But what is he coming to say? When Rabbi Yochanan said la'achan nefila machlokes, he didn't mean to say that there's no machlokes. This machlokes shas nefila also, but he meant to emphasize that only mafkin zakov la'achan nefila of our case is the case where Rabbanan say because it was an honest. Means Mafkin Zakov Lachan Afilas onus is going to be the case that the Rabbanan say Abuda says butter. But if it would have been Mafkin Zakov in a case where it was a Pshia, I guess.
Yeah, the Alma means he will.
I'm not sure what the word the Alma means in general. The words don't
General means that he.
if it would have been a Pshia.
Yeah.
So then everybody would hold Mafkin Zakov Lachan Afilas Pshia for sure is Chaya. Does Rashi say anything about that? Allah Kamash Rabbi Yochanan Mafkin Zakov Dacha the Tchilaso onus. Who the pater Rabbanan Mafkin Zakov the Alma Kigon Shlicho B'das. Okay, if he intentionally threw it down, so then surely he's going to be chayiv because Mafkin Zakov Lachan Afilas Pshia for sure is going to be chayiv. So he didn't mean to say it's only one machlokes in our Mishnah. He knows there's two machlokes like Abai says Shas Nefila Lachan Nefila that don't think any Lachan Nefila. Only the case of Lach Nefila over here, that would be considered Nefilas onus. But if it would have been Nefilas Pshia, then everybody holds that he's Chayiv. Even if we do hold that he's Chayiv.
So when he said La'achan Nefila machlokes, he didn't mean that's the only.
Right, he meant that. Right, there's not a case of Shas Nefila. But the Achan Nefila here, this case of Lach Nefila, because Agas L'Shitosa, Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says that Nitka La Posheya. So that's why he could say that Mafkin Zakov is going to be Potter, because there's no time on the fact that it fell. And there's no time now that you left it there because you're mafkirin. But if it would have been a case that even Rabbi Yehuda would have held that there's a time, why did it fall? It'd be a pshia, if it would be a real pshia. So then he also would agree that mafkin zakov doesn't help anymore. Okay, so we got until Itmar.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very unusual Gemara.
On the engagement.
Well,
Who's engaged?
granddaughter, Benjamin's daughter.
Wow. It's a new it's kufa.
So it was by all of you.
Not very.